Hello guys and welcome back to Lexalexus. We are starting a series which we have been doing every single season since I started YouTube. We are going to be predicting the championship score predictions. So the series has returned, the weekly score predictions have returned. We made it to week 1. It is going to commence tomorrow when Birmingham take on Ipswich. So I've got to get these out today. And I will tell you guys, the Prediction League is also returning this season. To remind you who won, it was me in the end that did actually win the league. But over 80 of you took part in that league last year. The numbers we were getting were crazy. And what I will say, Honeygun, GHGN and Ethan, the fact that you got into the top 4 and scored very, very well, I will be organising a prize for all 3 of you later this weekend, so keep an eye on your social medias as I will be getting that sorted. And in terms of the viewer getting the shout out today who's recently subscribed to the channel, Oliver Roll is the viewer getting the shout out today. If you subscribe to the channel, your name could very well be read out in the next video, and each subscription really does not go unnoticed, as you see. So if you can like, share and subscribe, it really does help the growth of this channel. Let's go for 40 likes to start the new season. I think that will be a really good way to start. But without any further ado, let's start officially predicting the 25-26 championship season. All I can say is, what an opening game to start off the season. We have got the high-flying Birmingham, the League One record points holders, against probably the favourites to win the championship, Ipswich Town. Both newcomers in this championship season, and I am really excited to see what sort of result we'll get. Most creators are predicting both of these sides to have good seasons. How I'm feeling going into this game, I think certainly Ipswich would not want to play Birmingham at this stage. I think Birmingham are going to be a very difficult team to beat, and I will be intrigued to see if their good form in pre-season and the genuine hype is going to elevate their performances going into this game. Ipswich's squad, they released the squad numbers very recently, and it is stacked full of players full of championship quality. Now, in terms of slight downturns for Ipswich, Connor Townsend has confirmed he has got an ACL injury, so it would likely he will miss most if not all of the season, which is a blow for Ipswich's point of view. And then there's the whole saga of Nathan Broadhead as well. It's going, made very clear that Wrexham want him, and Broadhead is preferring to get a move to Wrexham, but Ipswich are holding firm trying to keep him. And of course the transfer speculation on Omari Hutchinson. There's been recently a bid of up to 35 million. I believe West Ham and Brentford are very keen to try and get him into their squads at the moment. So whether Omari Hutchinson can play without having that focus elsewhere, it's going to be very interesting here. But Birmingham are certainly the team to watch. I mean, both of these clubs are fighting for Chuba Akpom. I don't think he will feature in this match. I think this match was too soon. But if this was game week 3, it would probably have a little bit of spice into it following the ambition that both of these clubs are showing. Opening game of the season, I think St Andrews is going to be a very difficult place for many teams to go. And whilst Ipswich are the favourites, I still have some concerns with what I've originally just mentioned. Birmingham, on the other hand, are just fair, in really good spirits at the moment, and I could see that giving them the edge in this game. As a prediction, my first prediction this season, I'm going to go for a home win, a 2-1 victory to Birmingham. Maybe a shock, but personally, I think we could see a couple of those results, and it will be quite likely that Ipswich could be caught a little bit cold, and Birmingham will be in red hot form. So I am backing a win for Birmingham. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. We've now made it for the couple of early Saturday kickoffs, and we start off with a London derby between Charlton and Watford. Charlton's return in the Championship for the first time since 2020, so a good number of years since we've embraced Charlton on this channel, so welcome back all the Charlton fans that probably would have watched a little bit of me on my first ever Championship season. It's good to be talking about them again, and I hope that they will offer us a really good season. Watford is a very interesting one. I really have not too sure how they're going to be in this game. It's of course Pezzolano's first game of English football, and in my predictions I predicted Watford to finish as high as 10th, which a lot would probably think that's a little bit high, but some are actually quite excited of what Watford could offer this season. And I think squad-wise, Charlton have done so well to compile a very competitive squad together, but I think with the level of change, I think it is going to take a little bit of time until we will start seeing consistent results being churned, and certainly it will be made difficult, especially at home, and it's a Nathan Jones type of setup, so Pezzolano I think is going to have a really big challenge there. But I just think some of the individual players that Watford have could actually do really well for that squad at this moment of time, and I actually think whilst Charlton at this moment will need time to be at full strength to execute their system, I think Watford at this moment in time, whilst they're still working on transitioning, I think a lot of their earlier games that can be won will be done by flair players who can really step up and just offer an incredible bit of quality, and I would not be surprised if we do see that here. Prediction, bit of a hard one. I am tempted to give some for Charlton for the fact that they have got a home game, and Watford I won't say are the most threatening team, but I think just with the whole unpredictability of what Watford are going to be, it gives me a little bit of an excuse to actually back them. So this will be my away win actually, and one thing I've been quite guilty of is not doing enough away wins in my predictions. I'm going to do one here, and I'm going to say Watford to maybe get a perhaps shocking 2-1 away victory. I do think it will be very competitive though, and I really hope in terms of the performance I see enough from Charlton to make me think, right, I am right to back them for survival. They've clearly got a good squad on their hands. I just think for me it will just take a little bit of time to get things right. But let me know what you think in the comments. Next up, we got Coventry going up against Hull City. So for me, this is again a very interesting situation we have here. Coventry, I think, certainly have added a little bit to their squad, but nothing too crazy. Coventry, of course, ended last season in fantastic form, and it will be a question to see if they can carry that into that game. Hull a bit similar to Watford, a little bit unknown, but I have been quite encouraged of their pre-season results actually, and the performances I have been seeing as of late. Jakirovic, this will be his first game in English football as well, so likewise with Pezzolano, it will give us a good insight to see if they can be tactically adaptable enough to cope with English football here. I think this is interesting because typically with Coventry we point them to a team that don't start the season that well, and this will really determine, now that Mark Robins has gone, is it a Mark Robins thing or is it just a Coventry thing? I'm actually going to say that it could just be a Coventry thing, that they just need a couple of games to get back to life. And honestly with Hull, I think for the fact it's a bit similar to Watford, a lot of people writing them off and not quite knowing what to expect, I think it will catch a couple of teams out. I'm going to go for a draw though. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think the quality of Coventry can give them at least a point at the Rico Arena as well. I think it will certainly, you know, with them being at home, I think does really help at the start of the season. But I think Hull are good enough to snatch a point. Final one of the early Saturday games is Southampton versus Wrexham. Another two newcomers in the league and coming from different divisions, and I am very excited to see how this game will pan out. I will certainly be keeping a really close eye for both clubs for differing reasons. So with Southampton, I think they've got the main core of that squad who were in the Premier League, but even just with a good number of players who were in the Championship previously and doing really well for that point of view there. So I think Southampton are going to still be a very competitive team this year, and I will be excited to see how Will Steele gets on with his first game. Wrexham, though, is going to be very interesting. Now, they've done their transfer business very late in the window, and they only recently announced Kiefer Moore, and they are looking to try and get Nathan Broadhead into that squad as well. I think because the transfers that they have gone have significantly for individual ability have improved the quality of the squad, I think the little time they're going to have to gel into the squad, I think, will affect Wrexham, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do start the season a little bit slow as a result of that. But I think then, whilst the signings will be able to gel within the squad that's currently around them, I think Wrexham will start eventually building up their form. Prediction here, I'm actually going to say Southampton are going to start very strongly here. It will be interesting to see if Wrexham are going to be defensively strong, but I do think Southampton have got one of the most highly potential attacks in this league as of now, just with the endless options that who could go on the pitch or even off the bench and get a goal. I'm actually going to go for a 3-0 victory to Southampton. I think with Wrexham riding through this tidal wave of momentum, this I think will feel like a really big speed hump in their process, and this will allow them to evaluate the signings that they have done and to prioritise gelling them in. So I think whilst that result sounds really bad for Wrexham, I think they will be able to bounce back from this. Let me know what you think of this game in the comments. Next up is Middlesbrough and Swansea. These are two sides that I'm expecting to be in around the mid-table region based on my predictions, which I released a couple of days ago now. This is an interesting one again. So Rob Edwards, new manager. I mean, we're going to keep saying new managers because a lot of the clubs have got new managers going into this season, and this will be interesting. A lot of the squad, I think, is the same from last season. It will be more of a case of Rob Edwards to see if he can get a little bit more out of the current crop of players. He hasn't made too many transfers, although the rumours are starting to speculate and, starting to increase a little bit in relation to Middlesbrough. So it does look like that they are actively looking for more, and whether that means they won't get loads of money for potentially selling Hayden Hackney, it does feel to me that Middlesbrough do want to improve the depth of that squad. Swansea ended last season, I should say, really well. So I will be intrigued to see if they could carry that form going into this season. This is a tough one for me to call because I can see pros and cons with both these sides. Swansea, I think, still need to work on getting more depth in their striker and forward positions. But other than that, I think both sides could offer a good game. I might just back Middlesbrough because of home advantage, although they weren't the most consistent team at home. A draw is tempting, but I'm actually going to go for a Middlesbrough win. I'm going to be brave. 2-1 to Middlesbrough. I think they could get into a winning start here. Next up is Norwich versus Millwall, and again I was speaking about this with Middlesbrough and Swansea. These are two sides which I expect to finish in a very similar position, and they literally are next to each other in my official table predictions, which might not be a massive spoiler, but I see both of them doing really well. Actually, where I've predicted them, they're two teams who are narrowly missing out on the top 6. Norwich have certainly bolstered their depth in terms of their defence and goalkeeping positions, and have still maintained some really good attacking quality players. There is that fear that maybe with a new manager and lots of new players it might take time to settle. Millwall certainly have made transfers as well, but I think a lot of their transfers aren't necessarily going to be first team players. So I actually think in terms of a starting 11 point of view, Millwall might actually have a more settled squad, and it's with a manager who was in charge of Millwall for most of last season. So this is interesting, and Millwall on the road weren't terrible, but they did lose 9 games on the road, and they weren't one of the top 3 best away sides. And one thing I'll say with Norwich, their home form was impeccable. It was very good, and I think they might just be able to continue that there because Liam Manning also did a really good job doing or winning a lot at home with Bristol City last year. So I actually think this is something that he can take into this Norwich side. And I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Norwich. Should be a good game though. I'm quite excited to see the outcome. Next up, we've got Oxford going up against Portsmouth. I think this is going to be a really good game here. There is no shadow of a doubt that Oxford, if they are wanting to survive the season, they need to be strong at home like they were last season. And of course, they also had an opening home game on the opening day of the season, and they beat Norwich City by 2-0 as well. It's quite comfortable. If the rumours are true that Colby Bishop will not be featured for Portsmouth, at least for this game, I do think that does make them significantly weaker. It puts a little bit more onus on Josh Murphy to create things, and Oxford, whilst I don't think they've completed the business yet from the transfer window, they are actively looking to use the loan market now, which I think is quite encouraging with the amount of talent that has been linked for a championship club from loans, whether it's from Premier League or it's from youth players from top 6 clubs. Either way, I think we're going to see lots of business from Oxford and others in their position coming up this couple of weeks. Prediction. This is a tough one. I'm actually might be edging for Oxford, reason being of their home form is generally very, very strong. I back Gary Rowett to make the Kazama a difficult place to get points. And if Portsmouth are going to be losing Colby Bishop, I just think that makes them a little bit too weak, unfortunately. So, prediction, I'm going to keep it simple. 2-1 to Oxford. That's what I'm going for there. Next to predict is Queen's Park Rangers versus Preston. I think this is going to be intriguing. I'm quite excited to see Queen's Park Rangers with Junior Stefan, another brand new manager from another European league as well. I'm just intrigued with him because he's done really, really well with Liga. It's at least with what he was doing with Rennes and Strasbourg, I think was the other one he was in. He's done decent work, so can he translate that to the Championship? I mean, with the attacking players that he's got available already, I'm quite excited about Queen's Park Rangers' chances. Preston going into the season, I think, still a little bit light of highly attacking players and with some injuries to contend with. I think for me, that's really going to make Queen's Park Rangers strong favourites. And Preston have not had a good record against Queen's Park Rangers in recent years. I think for prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Queen's Park Rangers. I think they could start the season quite well, and I have predicted them to start quite well based on my predicted table after 6 game weeks. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next is Stoke and Derby. So this was actually the last game of the season that both of these sides had to play against each other. It was a Pride Park affair. It ended in a very boring draw, and ultimately I think that was helped with both of them knowing a point was needed to survive, so they kind of played out a draw. I hope for more, well, not more for more of the same. I hope for more drama, I hope for more goals and stuff, but personally, I think what we will see is a very stop-start game. Derby were the best in terms of creating goals from set-piece situations last season. Stoke are going to, I think, definitely build upon improving their set-piece threat as well. So this game, for me, I think will be a bit stop-start. And when it's stop-start, it typically is quite low scoring. As a prediction, I'm very tempted to give one win. I mean, Derby I'm quite tempted to for winning. I'm really, really liking their squad at the moment, but I feel like I have to do it. I need to predict a donut score, a 0-0 draw, and I'm going to do it here. My first 0-0 draw of the season, I'm predicting it to be Stoke and Derby to repeat on what had happened in the last day of last season. The last one of the 3 o'clock kickoffs sees West Brom going up against Blackburn, which I think is a good game to call here. West Brom with another new manager. That's the repeated phrase that I keep saying, which kind of goes down how many clubs have decided to change approach with a new man at the helm. So it's Ryan Mason who will be taking charge in terms of his first professional level football, really. He's been intern manager the odd couple of times, so could that make things a bit slow for West Brom? It could possibly, with the amount of players that they have lost. I think West Brom will be a team that will grow in terms of their ability, in my opinion. Blackburn, I haven't been too impressed with their preseason results, although I got to say their transfer activity has definitely stepped up, and it needed to as well with the fact that Callum Britton is now no longer at the club as well. I am seeing Blackburn selling a lot of their first team players who were brilliant last year, going to other championship clubs, which is really not going to be a benefit for them since they're benefiting, their opponents. But I think into this game, Blackburn did beat West Brom away from home last time out this season, so not ruling out Blackburn winning this. But West Brom at home have been very, very strong consistently since they've been back in the Championship. I think it will be a low-scoring home win. I don't see Ryan Mason getting everything right so far. I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory to West Brom. I think it'll be tight, and I think they will just about get a goal in a low-quality game. So we're now making it to Sunday's games. We've got Sheffield United against Bristol City. This is a very interesting game, especially with the fact that they recently played each other in the playoff semi-final. And of course, it was Sheffield United that got a 6-0 aggregate. Still now the biggest aggregate score win in any EFL playoff. But both with new managers and both with players that they have recently recruited who will, I think, play a very important part in their roles. So my sort of reservation of Ruben Selles is really going to be interesting because I have no doubt in my mind he can set his team up and play some good football. I just don't know how he's going to handle with the pressure and the expectation of Sheffield United being near the top in every single game week. Bristol City, I feel like, could kind of go into this game with a more nothing-to-lose attitude, and with some of the players still around after being absolutely battered by Sheffield United, they could be looking at this game for a little bit of revenge. Gerard Struber will certainly make this Bristol City side press heavily, and they would want to try and still maintain the same fitness levels throughout the game as well. It's going to be a fun watch. I really enjoyed his Barnsley team he put out, and I remember it beating Leeds in the peaks of their Marcelo Bielsa ability. So Bristol City do have a manager who I feel could tactically set a team up that could be anyone. But I think here I'm a little bit difficult for avoiding Sheffield United here. Still with the players that they got on the squad, it's just game changing, and I think their home form is very, very strong. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Sheffield United. I see them being the winner of this game. Although I am not ruling out Bristol City getting something. I will be intrigued to see if Bristol City can cope with the transition. If they can, they could be having a really good season on their hands. And then the last game to play, which to me feels like the biggest mismatch, is Leicester and Sheffield Wednesday. Leicester still, I was just saying, with Southampton and Sheffield United, still with the individual players that they got on that squad, it is a joke for the amount of quality they just have in their disposals and can actually store a lot of that quality off the bench as well and could really go for the kill. But Sheffield Wednesday are in really tough situations at this moment in time. Whilst they have managed to sell out their allocation, it does feel like to me that they're going to make their feelings very, very known. And why shouldn't they? If they could easily be a team on the up, but then when you have an owner that is still holding back a sale and is still not backing down of trying to get enough out of it, then ultimately you're going to see a club slowly but surely enter extinction. The stuff we're seeing with Morecambe is absolutely devastating, by the way, and we do not, of course, want that to happen to any club. And Sheffield Wednesday, if things are not moving in a way, who knows what sort of state they could find themselves. There's a score here. That's what I'm here to deliver today. I'm going to go for 5-0 Leicester. I think they could find themselves really, really strong with the attacking players that they got. And honestly, for Sheffield Wednesday's point of view, I think, again, like I mentioned in my predictions, the focus now is going to have to be trying to push the owner and just getting some sense into him to perform a sale, because once the sale's been done, I could see Sheffield Wednesday going back on the up, of course with minimal resources due to the EFL restrictions. But honestly, I think now it's just, if they could put a team together, fair play to Sheffield Wednesday, and whether they can endure the 90 minutes, fair play to that as well. But Yeah, a bit of a mismatching score, that one. What do you think will happen in this particular fixture? Could it be called off? Could it actually be abandoned? Let me know your thoughts going into this weekend, knowing this fixture is very much on the edge. So there you have it, guys. That is my Week 1 Championship score predictions. A little bit of a new presentation format for this one. If you liked it, let me know in the comments down below. If you didn't like it, that's absolutely fine as well, because I'm willing to listen to all your comments and I'll figure out a way to make the presentation even more better. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'd like you guys to leave your score predictions in the comments down below too. That is going to be the way that you can enter points into this season's Prediction League. So that's going to wrap it up. If you guys enjoyed it, please smash the like button. Please do hit the subscribe button too, and please share the channel too. All of that really helps. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really cannot wait for the season to start. You guys are legendary. Saw you in this video, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.